Warning. The following episode contains moderate spoilers about the Halloween movie franchise and moderate spoilers about the installments Halloween H2O, Halloween Resurrection, Rob Zombie's Halloween, and Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Any harm or degradation that may have been experienced by birds during the recording of this podcast was both imaginary and consensual. Welcome to Marianne's Macabre movie review.
Hello and welcome. We have Dave with us today as our special guest, along with J. Keith Jackson. We are here to talk about a very special event that's coming up on the 28th. We have Geo talking, and we also have Dave Williams is doing the 20th anniversary of his Halloween movie marathon party that he does every year. And we just wanted to, we're going to be there on the day of the event, and we're going to do a little mini podcast after every movie, just get everybody in the rooms read on what they thought of it. And we recorded Season of the Witch so we could watch it ahead of time. So since we never really watch it per se, so we can have something to say about it. Like, oh, here's that weird part. All right, now we're back.
Wait, that's the whole movie.
Yeah. So we just wanted to have Dave over and ask a few questions and talk to him about this really cool event that he does every year. So, Dave, why don't you go ahead and just talk, tell us about yourself, and you like horror, obviously. So.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. So, yes, I love horror movies. It's my favorite genre. So, Halloween is my favorite series, obviously, since I've had 20 of these movie marathons. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's good. So Halloween is your favorite.
Yes.
So why is it your favorite?
I don't know. Just when I was a kid, I remember USA used to play the Halloween movies all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So I remember just watching them on TV and being so scared of Michael Myers.
Really?
I would go into my room and just, after watching the movies, and just be terrified. Like, I'd be hiding under the covers and everything. Like, I was so young, but yeah, it freaked me out. But for whatever reason, I loved it. So I just kind of latched on to Michael Myers. He was the first real of the big three of Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers that I kind of saw, and I just latched onto him, and ever since.
Okay, so how old were you when you were watching the movies?
Let's see, probably 10?
Okay.
10, 11-ish, so.
As in Ty Dillinger. 10. That's for the wrestling WWE fans out there.
Yep.
I can't stand the his theme song, how it enters with that woman saying a sexy 10. 10. Fuck!
You can't stop doing it.
I can't stop doing it now. Now, every time...
So it's one of those things you hate but repeat.
Yes. Well, it's just like Keith and his Dolph Ziggler thing, so yeah. But go ahead. I guess we'll start our little interview portion.
Absolutely.
So, Keith, why don't you start out with a question?
All right, well, of the big three, Halloween is the one that I was the least familiar with, and probably still am.
Mm-hmm.
It's because, and part of that's because I was a latecomer to the marathon, and so I'm not sure how many of those had gone. Probably at least 10, right? I mean, before even.
Oh, like how many are there currently?
No, how many?
Or how many marathons?
Yeah, how many there were before I ever?
Yeah,
I can't remember what my first one was.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it was deep into it. So
he wrote in his diary. Keith joined the Halloween today.
My point is that by the time I joined, everyone had already probably seen them a lot. And so I never really get to sit down and watch them all the way through while I'm there, because there's always something going on.
There's always something going on. So there's a lot of chitter chatter. So
I guess what I'm curious,
it's hard to get a feel for what they are. You're not able to focus when everybody's around you.
But I'm wondering about like the first one or two of those. Was it different? I mean, were people just like riveted to it? I mean, were they
the first couple marathons? Well, the first marathon was essentially just me. It was my freshman year at Cincinnati in 1998, and you know, we'd been in classes for about a month or a month and a half or so, and I didn't know a whole lot of people. And the people I did know were all going to like a frat party or something like that on Halloween night. And Halloween fell on a Saturday that year, but I had no desire to go to a frat party. So I was like, you know, I've got most of the Halloween movies. I got the first one, the second one, and I think the Halloween 6, and then at the time, H2O was the most recent one.
Oh, yeah.
Funny to think about, isn't it?
Right, yeah.
There's been more since then.
Yeah, they've packed on some more since then. But at the time, it went up to H2O. I didn't have Halloween 3, 4, or 5. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go to a frat party. Halloween's my favorite movie. I'm just going to watch them all tonight. And I went up to Blockbuster in the days of VHS and rented the three that I didn't have so I could, you know, just sit down and watch them all. So I told my friends about it, and then a couple of them kind of popped in and out throughout the night when they were coming back. But essentially it was just me by myself for most of the night watching them all. And I was like, you know, this was fun. I want to do this again next year. So next year, you know, I spread the word about it because that was just kind of a spur of the moment thing. And then from then, it's just kind of built up to what it is today.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. That's really cool. 1990. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
You never really think, you know, VHS. You know when everything comes into play.
Yeah, that was kind of the more infancy of DVD at the time. So I mean,
and now you can stream everything if you really wanted to.
Right.
Do you have the Blu-ray? I mean, are there even Blu-rays of the older movies?
I don't know. I feel like those were big enough that somebody probably would have done a collection by now.
What of the Halloween ones?
Yeah.
Oh yes, I have the Blueray collection.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
It came out two years ago, I think. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, but I have them all on Blu-ray now. Moved up from VHS.
Yeah, you moved up.
It's still more recent than I would have guessed, honestly, as far as them coming out with it on Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm.
So, of all of the Halloweens, do you have one that's your favorite?
The original.
Okay. Besides Season of the Witch, which is your worst favorite?
Halloween Resurrection.
Which one's that one?
It's the one that has Busta Rhymes. It bothers me so bad to see Busta Rhymes karate kicking Michael Myers. It does not make sense to me. It's horrible. Don't tell Andy. Well, Andy knows my hatred of it, but he loves that movie because Busta Rhymes has a couple of funny lines in it. But aside from that, it is terrible.
So I remember, I believe it was H2O that I saw in the movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
And I had seen the other ones, but never really. Freddy Krueger is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, well, you know, let's go see H2O. And like the first shot is Jamie Lee Curtis. It's not the first shot. It's the first shot I remember from watching it in the movie theater. She's having a nightmare or something, and she's wearing a very thin tank top, and her nipples are just, I'm like, for fuck's sake.
Can you stop to describe your hand gestures before that? When you were describing the nipples?
My hands were at my head.
No. Before that, you were saying her nipples were like...
Were hard as rocks. And I was just like... Oh, I was like so annoyed with that. She's come so far as an actress that to put her back in that thing where she's like, I've got to show my, show my cold nipples.
Yeah.
To get,
and you wonder if that's on purpose or if that's just how it happened. Who knows?
I'm sure it was on
either
purpose.
Way.
There are usually few accidents that make it through all the editing process and so forth. Like, we'll leave it.
Yeah. So I was just like.
People will like that, except Marianne.
Yeah, hand to my head, just like what
why?
The fuck? I can't believe it. So I don't know. I kind of was like, until Dave invited me, Keith and I, to the movie marathons.
You were a latecomer to the Halloween movie marathons.
Yeah, I did not show up until a few years ago because I met Keith 5 years ago. So. I've been to 5 of them, I think. So about 5. Yeah. They've all been great fun. Do you want to tell what you do during Season of the Witch?
Okay, so during Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, since it's terrible, but it's technically part of the series, it doesn't include Michael Myers at all. They tried to do a thing where they're like, okay, we did Michael Myers for the first 2 movies. Let's just try to make Halloween more of a we'll do a separate story for the preceding ones, and it did not go over well at all. So during Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, we played Balderdash, which is my favorite board game, and I think everybody else loves it. So during that movie, we played that game instead. And I think that came about, it was after I got out of school. So it's probably 2005 or 2004 or 5. We introduced Balderdash into the mix.
Wow.
So it's been around for a while.
Yeah.
I'd never played the game before, the marathon. And I think every time that I've played it, it's been just in tears laughing. Mm-hmm. And that's usually because of Dave here. I mean, I don't think it would be as much fun without him coming up with these, especially for the
stories.
For the one of the categories is real movie titles, and you're supposed to come up with a definition.
The synopsis.
A fake synopsis or real one if you happen to know it. And people are, I don't know how many people in the audience are going to know how to play Balderdash.
Yeah, basically they give you a couple of different categories, and per se, like the movies one, they give you the title of the movie, and then you have to come up with what you think the plot of that movie is. So it's basically, be creative with your answers and try to get people to guess your answer, or you guess the correct answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Dave's answers are usually extremely elaborate. Like we have a stack of index cards that we use, and his all usually go from front to back. And just
I mean, and instead of having it long ways, he'll write it, the way to make the index card, like a skyscraper, and he'll write it that way, so you can get more words in.
That's right.
That way.
Yeah, but that's something I wouldn't have thought that I would have enjoyed if somebody described me what the game was, but it actually is. Even without the extremely silly movie answers or for the other categories, it's I'm surprisingly good at it sometimes. So yes, thank you.
Yes.
That's what I would have had me in the
You are, in
shoulder.
fact, yeah.
No, seriously.
I think most of our group of friends are very good at that game. We get creative and interesting answers
we're
all the
all
time.
super creative. So.
Yeah, I thought that would be a fun way to just, we play the movie, but it gives us a break from watching the movies, the endurance of watching 10 movies. And
right, exactly.
And that was the idea of moving it to an earlier time this year, is because before we would start at like 6 or 7 at night, and it goes into the wee hours of the morning if you're going to watch all of them, which the last couple of years, we're all getting older and we can't stay up as late. So we decided to push it back to a noon start time this year so that, we can knock out all the movies but still everybody's, able to watch more than what they have been in the past. So
not only that, I mean, I think we probably have things we have to do later that night
evening,
too. So it
might
helps us to do the whole thing, get the most out of it.
So people have other things going on. So
you do trivia usually.
Right.
Oh I usually have a Halloween quiz that I make up every year. So people usually enjoy doing that.
Are they different every year? I mean,
yeah.
There are a lot of repeat questions, but I try to add new different ones every year, but it gets harder to do every year.
I watched what do you think of Rob Zombie's Halloween movies?
I like them. I like the first one a lot. I like it better than the second one. A lot of people shit on the second one a lot. I actually kind of like the second one. To me, it's less of a Michael Myers movie than it is a Laurie Strode movie. I think it's more around her, like, how she changed from the first movie to the second movie. She went through all this hell, and then the second movie, she just kind of lost it, and her personality changed. She got darker, and it was about her just dealing with everything that happened. And then she finds out that Michael Myers is her brother, and she just loses her shit. Yeah, and that sends her spiraling deeper and deeper. And so a lot of people hate that one. I like it. I thought it was good. And they're a lot more gory than.
Yeah, I won those last year, and I watched them, and they were good.
Was it? I'm sorry, H2O. Was that Rob Zombie, or was it one after?
No,
separate series after that.
Yeah.
Was it a reboot completely, or was it a continuation?
No, it was a reboot.
Okay.
Yeah. They were kind of
Sherry Moon as the mom of Jason and Jason?
No, Michael
Myers. Like, wait a second. Why am I saying Jason? Mike Myers and the woman.
Dana Carvey.
Yes, Keith. So yeah, it was. I watched those last year and I liked them. I thought they were really good. I mean, he goes a lot deeper into Michael Myers as a boy and how he kind of transformed into what he was. And I really like that part. That was really good.
And the original one, it's basically a kind of him being a child at the beginning is just kind of a oh shit moment, like because you're seeing it from his point of view at the very beginning. You're like, oh shit, who just killed this girl? And it turns out to be her little 8-year-old brother, and it's like, oh shit, a little kid did that, So yeah, I like the Rob Zombie movies quite a bit. So, and I don't know if you know, there's a new one coming out next year.
Nice.
And I don't know how this is going to turn out, but Danny McBride is one of the writers for it. So, and Jamie Lee Curtis is coming back to do it. And it's kind of, from what I've heard, it's supposed to be a continuation from Halloween Part 2. So of pretend that all the ones in between don't exist.
Was there a space one for Halloween?
No.
Okay.
Thank God.
All right. I knew there was.
I think Jason.
I know Jason has
X.
one and Leprechaun has one.
Oh,
yes.
God.
We still need to do that, Andy.
Yes,
we need
Andy,
to do
if you're
that.
out there, if you're listening, Leprechaun.
Leprechaun movie marathon.
Yes, true.
We will podcast the shit out of that
Oh,
one.
yeah.
So if that's everything, all of our questions we have, then we can wrap up and then we'll continue this. The sound quality might be a little bit different because we'll be at a party at this time. But we'll see you on Saturday at noon. Bye-bye. Hey folks, welcome to Dave Williams' Halloween Movie Marathon. We have Ken, Dave, Angela, Megan, Andy, Keith, and Andrew, and me. We just watched, since this was the 20th anniversary of Halloween, we watched Halloween H2O. Let's have Dave start out since this is his party. What'd you think?
20 years later, I remember when I first saw this movie, I loved it. Thought it was the best thing ever. 20 years later, not necessarily the same opinion. I think I largely loved it because I had a giant crush on Michelle Williams, and she's one of the cast members in the movie, and my just love of Halloween. There hadn't been a new Halloween movie in a few years, so naturally, I just went right for it. So, it's okay. I mean, it gives you some pretty good moments, but largely it's, they try to throw you back with a couple scenes to the original Halloween, repeat some lines and stuff like that. But, it's okay. It's a late 90s horror movie. It tried to be like, I don't know if it was written by the same guy who did Scream, but didn't have the same power as Scream. But yeah, so it's okay. It holds up okay, but it wasn't great.
It's just in.
Hot take.
It's just in Halloween
What is your
H2O.
opinion of this? We usually do like a minute. What do you think?
I thought the movie was very entertaining, but it doesn't hold up to the deal of the original two movies, which were my favorites.
Okay.
But I mean, like Dave said, it brought up some scenes it brings up the past and tries to bring it up to the present. And of course, the mask wasn't the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
But
We'll talk about that in a second. Angela, what'd you think?
I didn't get to see the whole thing.
Yeah, she came in a little bit late. So,
From what I saw, I liked it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you like LL Cool J?
Yes, I did.
Megan?
Glad LL Cool J lived. Sad JGL died, but thought it was good for what it's supposed to be. Horror movie that's a little fun. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Andy?
Yeah. Oh, hey. Yeah, it's not as good as Halloween Resurrection.
Boo!
Keith?
I've still yet to see it all the way through, from start to finish, uninterrupted, so I don't really have what I would consider a valid opinion on it, but it seems okay. There are some comedic elements to it that just I don't know if it fits, but that's pretty much it.
Passable, you know.
Yeah.
Always LL Cool J, always a positive. Josh Hartnett, always a negative.
His hair in particular.
His hair is
Comb your hair.
is the
Not
worst.
great.
So
It looks like Michael Myers cut his hair with his knife, in fact.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it. Thought it was enjoyable. Still thought the plot needed a little bit of help. So it's one of those mediocre movies that it's good to watch with a group of people and just kind of enjoy it for what it's worth. So now that we've gone around the room, let's talk about the mask. There was some rework of the mask this time. Digital mask plus regular mask. What did we think?
I thought it was terrible all the way around. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. You just
Total junk.
that's always been one of the big issues with the Halloween movies is, you know, what the mask should look like, and there's always debate. But I think the big debate on this one was between like the actual people making the movie and then the higher ups, you know, within. I think it was Dimension who did the movies, but yeah, at one point they put it on a digital mask, and it just looks bad. So
Yeah, so when I looked at it on the internet, I found one picture before they did the reshoots, and it was an alien mask, like a gray alien, where that they had painted white and put hair on it. So it had very large eye sockets, you know, the big round ones. And then, like 45 seconds later, the actual scene showed up, and it's obviously one of the reshoots because it was not a digital mask, and it was just a regular, seemed like a Michael Myers mask. You know, the William Shatner painted white. So, anybody else have anything they want to weigh on it? On the mask?
I don't like the one with eyebrows.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
And I don't like the ones where you can see like skin or like the flesh around the eyes. Like,
yeah,
I don't,
yeah.
That takes away from it.
Yeah, they need to have the netting or whatever, you know, the black eye sockets, yeah.
The joke that I've always seen is when someone has a mask like that and they've painted their eyes black, and when they pull it off, it's not there. It's like, oh my god, he pulled off the makeup too. What?
Peeled right off, first layer of skin.
Well, that's definitely necessary because the weird like skin between the mask and the eyes, it's like it takes away from it.
Yeah,
I guess that would have been like Batman and first Danny Elfman.
Yeah.
Tim Burton.
Yes.
Anybody else have anything you want to weigh in on this movie? Cool. All right, on to the next movie.
H2O speaks for itself.
Hello and welcome. We just watched Halloween Resurrection, this beautiful movie. We're going to have Andy start out with this, talk about how much we loved or hated this. So, Andy?
You swear on this podcast?
Yeah, oh yeah.
You like fucking good movies? You just saw one. Halloween Resurrection is super underrated by most people in this fucking room. You'll need to get woke.
Ken.
I'll agree with him to a point. It is underrated. Better than expected. It's been a while since I've seen it. Like to see old stars in good
Yeah, can I just say, as a follow-up, that is something that's really cool and, like, super, and I will say underrated about H2O and Resurrection. There's a lot of, like, teen stars of the era who it's like, oh, look at this person and this person and this person. Whereas, like, the movies from the 80s, it's just, like, people you never saw before and would never see again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true about, like, 80s movie is kind of like a death sentence if you were in a horror movie. But now, you get younger people to do them and they make it.
Yeah.
I guess Jamie Lee Curtis was the exception from the 80s, really.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, Halloween Resurrection. Fucking hate it.
Wow.
Anytime Busta Rhymes can karate kick Michael Myers and yell at him, and he just stands there. He's always in a silence, but a stunned silence this time when Busta Rhymes just confronts him and starts yelling at him because he thinks he's somebody else, and he just turns around and goes about killing other people instead of Busta Rhymes. Makes me sick. I don't know. I thought it was a decent premise, but I thought the execution was pitiful. On to the next.
Yeah, I agree with Andy. I liked it.
Thank you.
Megan.
No, I agree with Andy too. I liked it. I think it's wacky. It's like meant to be wacky. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's fun. Whatever.
Yeah.
Dave,
Yeah.
chill out.
It has laughable moments. Busta Rhymes is funny,
Yeah.
but it makes my blood boil to see him just karate kick. And
I'm in the
damn
middle
it.
on that one. All right. I mean, I appreciate some of the comedic aspects of it, but it just I feel like it could have been executed better. I think they had a really good premise that was wasted on the wackiness that ensued. I will say
on
that
Team Resurrection like 15 minutes ago. What happened?
I will say that.
He saw the alternate endings and
Oh,
took it to
Yeah,
her.
I mean, I will say that I laughed certainly at some of the Buster Rhymes moments, but that it shouldn't be possible to do the things he was doing for a Mike Myers type slasher film. It just kind of
Because all other
Took away
Halloween
from-
movies are firmly rooted in reality.
no, in the sense
of course they are.
in the sense of him being able to just be kicked around and just confused to that extent. It kind of, I think, really took away from the character, but it was entertaining.
Yes, it was entertaining. It's bad and good.
Yeah.
You know, I still prefer LL Cool J to Busta Rhymes, at least in the Halloween canon. But, you know, it was fun.
So I enjoyed and hated it. I'm firmly in the middle of this one. I did enjoy seeing Busta Rhymes because I have a Zumba song that I do. So now I know what it looks
Do you
like.
karate kick when you zoom?
But there are no karate kicks. That's something I need to add into
Well,
more
yeah.
Zumba songs now.
You have to do that under the Busta Rhymes song.
Yeah.
Karate kick.
Yeah.
Marianne, you're going to say hi-ya?
Yeah,
Do it.
that's the key part is hi-ya! What?
No, it was
so
great.
it's really good and bad. I really like the premise of the reality TV show. However, it was just so poorly done that it was. And then Mike Myers totally acting not in character. Like, if anybody else, this had been Mike Myers from Halloween 1, 2, 4, 5, or 6, he would not have just stared blankly at a person, then turn around and walk away. He would have been like, stab.
Maybe
Yeah.
he was the only one who got the memo that this is reality TV, and you gotta like play it up a little. You gotta create some stories, drama, arcs. Like, come on, kids, get your shit together.
Is there anything that we want to talk about in general about this? Now that we've all gone around and talked about it, is there something we loved, we hated, that we haven't talked about already?
The mask was 100% better.
It was there were, you could see in different takes that they were using different masks. Like one had like psh, hair that was like sticky outy hair, is that sound effect.
Yeah.
And the other one was a nicely coiffed hair. So I was reading some of the trivia for it, and it said Jamie Lee Curtis was contractually obligated to do 30-second cameo, but she loved the script so much she did a 4-day shoot for this.
I'm sorry, she was just looking for work.
I look back and think, like, what did she love about this script? What
Yeah.
was it? Was it the Busta Rhymes? Was it
That
was
can
it-
be. She couldn't have even known who he
Teenagers
was.
getting murdered.
Yeah,
It is an interesting premise, so.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, maybe
I'm sure
Maybe
it's
it
probably
looked
changed
better
since, yeah.
Yeah,
in script form, maybe it looked interesting,
when it
but
came out, like reality TV wasn't like it is now, so it
True.
probably actually was kind
I
of.
mean,
like,
yeah, it's probably a little bit ahead of the
groundbreaking.
curve, or
Yeah.
They didn't really have a template to go off of.
yeah.
Dave, would you like to direct anything at Andy before we close?
Fight.
No hard feelings.
No hard feelings.
Everybody's got their opinion. Is it just
Anything
wrong?
towards Dave. Since
No.
there are two opposing factions.
I think, we just watched the movie and it speaks for itself, so I'm comfortable declaring victory.
Wow.
Then just make
It
another
speaks for
comment
itself, and
about-
it's mute.
Please take me.
All right, just about the script being good or bad or whatever. I mean, that some of the Busta Rhymes things had the feel of it being sort of improv, perhaps, or ad-libbed, I should say. I can't imagine that some of these things were written out the way that they were executed.
Yeah, you
It's
wonder
hard
you
to-
wonder if like they had him specifically in mind, or if he was cast later on, or who knows.
Like, leave a blank in the script for Busta Rhymes to improv.
Well, I mean, I think he might have just kind of taken it and run with it and said, I'm going to make this...
I'm going to make this meme in
Yeah.
a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okie dokie, folks. Let's move on to our next movie. Hello! We just watched Rob Zombie's Halloween, the first one. We are back. We have newcomer Ken Harris to it. We still have Ken L here. So let's go around real quick. Ken, what'd you think?
Excellent movie. Nice backstory.
Yeah.
I like it. Rob Zombie, I think, did a really good job. He explained more of Michael Myers when he was a kid and how he became, what he was, the murder machine as an adult. You see, he had just a terrible childhood, a bad family, and that you kind of see his progression from being. I don't know. They said he was a sweet, innocent kid, but that necessarily wasn't the case.
No.
He was already kind of dark, and then his family surrounding was not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he did a really good job of that, and then as it goes on, they kind of explain Laurie's adoptive family, and they're really sweet and nice together. They have great chemistry, and I thought it was a great movie, and it's very graphic and violent, but it's I love it.
Yeah, I feel this.
I'm sorry, just a quick comment. With the fan going, we're probably going to have to speak up. Remember, Ken before was probably kind of hard to hear with the mic.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, I love it because it gives more detail of how Michael Myers came to be. I never honestly saw the 1970 version, I guess, because I was more of a Freddy Krueger fan. So
Yeah.
yeah, this I guess is before it started. So like the same thing, like he had a bad childhood, and I think that's kind of why he led up to be the way that he is. So
I liked it with maybe some caveats, but I liked it. It was very violent and scary, which is not normally my deal, but overall, good Halloween movie.
Ken?
Yeah, being a fan of Rob Zombie films in general, I definitely believe it lived up to the hype, especially with all the violence, a lot more than the original one. So, by the way, I think Devil's Rejects is having his sequel is in the making.
Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I thought it was good.
Keith?
We should watch Devil's Rejects now.
Probably my favorite one I've seen. Well, first of all, let me just say today I think I've seen more of the Halloween movies than I have in any of these marathons. It's good we started out during the day.
Yeah.
We're clear-headed. We pay attention. I've been learning a lot more. I think this one is my favorite so far. I think that I'm going to agree with the same caveats that Megan and probably Andy will have about it to some extent. But it's kind of part and parcel for like a Rob Zombie type production. So if you like that kind of movie, it's not that bad, but So that's it.
I think there was almost too much backstory. I don't know how interested I was in learning that much about Michael Myers and where he came from. I think it was I like him more as a boogeyman who you don't really know what his motivation is or what he's thinking or why he is the way he is. He's just this killing machine and I appreciate what Rob Zombie tried to do, but ultimately I don't think it's completely successful. I still like the movie, but I just think it made it overly long and what John Carpenter did in maybe the first 3 minutes of the original Halloween is now a 40-minute sequence to get up to the present in Rob Zombie's Halloween. I just think it's too much. It's too big a chunk of the movie. And I just thought it's just some of the the rape scene and things like that are just why unnecessary,
Yeah.
So, this is my favorite Halloween. I like this one a lot. I like Rob Zombie. I really like the relationships between the families. Sherry Moon when she loves her son, and you can tell she loves her son, and she's just distraught at how this could have happened. And she ultimately ends up killing herself, and it's just heartbreaking because and you can see her crying, and you're just like, ugh, it's like, what would I do in that situation? Mm-hmm. Same with when it comes to the mother and father of Lori, the adopted ones. Their relationship, either between mother and daughter and the mom and dad together, were just so realistic that just the banter seemed like they just pulled it from regular life. This is what happens when we're just hanging out.
Which kind of surprises you from a Rob Zombie film.
Exactly.
He doesn't. You wouldn't pin him for getting a normal family life.
Exactly.
You more like in the first scene. That's kind of what you.
Mike Myers' family at the beginning was horrific, and while it is horrific, you have that believability of it. You think, yeah, this can happen. And go ahead.
I think that's almost my problem with it is it's two tonally different things. Where if I'm showing up to a Halloween movie, the random killing of teenagers, I almost want it to be a little more lighthearted because the stuff he tackled was very real, but also that seems more appropriate for that could be a case study of here's how you make a serial killer. But then you take that and then you lead up to and now this dude is in a mask running around killing teenagers. It there's kind of a disconnect where it's that's a really cool setup, really good setup, but if I want a Halloween movie, I kind of want the Cliff Notes version of that guy had a bad childhood and now he's coming to kill you. Whereas when you see the realness of it, I'm
yeah.
It almost feels
much.
It almost feels like two separate movies.
Yeah. I would rather it be two separate movies. I want to see the evolution of the serial killer,
mm-hmm.
and then I also want Mike Myers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Myers is a supernatural force.
Yeah.
Not this kid that I actually sympathized with for a bit until, it's
For a bit.
until he for a bit, because it's it's some people are born with that sociopathic gene where they are torturing animals and everything, and there's nothing wrong with their life. But then you see this Mike Myers, he has born with that gene, and then he has a shitty life.
Mm-hmm.
It's so it just pushes that over the edge.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was making this film, this is what I would have done. Is I would have if I was Rob Zombie, which would have been awesome. I would have done almost all that, and when we got to the insane asylum, cut almost that in half. We don't need this thing with as much as we like Danny Trejo. Cut him out. We don't need him. He doesn't add anything or take anything away. I mean,
the only thing
he kills him in the end anyway.
The only thing I really think that character was in there to show was that, he was nice to Michael Myers the whole 15 years he was there. He talked to him, and he still killed him, and that just kind of shows, how bad, he really was. He showed no sympathy towards anybody who was nice to him, so...
Yeah, I think that's probably there to balance out the him rescuing or seeming to rescue the woman who was being raped in front of him.
Yeah.
So,
well, we don't know. Did he kill her? They didn't really show that.
It's undetermined whether she lived or not. But
provoke him.
But the point being, he's chaotic neutral. Then he's just going to go ahead and kill whatever. I wanted to say that one of the things I really appreciated about the psychiatric stay was them at least attempting to explain why he was wearing the mask. Why do most of these supernatural serial killers seem to wear the masks? Well, at least two of the three, we will say. There's not really a good suitable explanation for other than that. So I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So how I would have done the movie, I would have cut out the psychological, the all that in the hospital, and maybe just show him in the hospital. Cut out even the asshole antagonizing bullies, and have him just kill an orderly to get out and just be done with it. We didn't have to have, because the rape scene was unnecessary. It was just there to add shock value, and to add more disturbing scenes to it. It did not add or take anything away. It was not needed, and I think
and that's not even in the theatrical cut.
Yeah,
it's like it's a. I think in the theatrical cut, it's a scene where like guards are moving him to.
Yeah,
and that's how he escapes.
There were guards moving him to, or like he had. I think his request for release or getting moved to a different facility got denied, and they were trying to move him back to his cell, and that's when he escaped. So that was.
So that's.
So you're right.
The theatrical version.
I haven't thought about that though.
Is that what is Michael Myers first started? The 1970 movie.
No.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey.
Oh, welcome Franz to the podcast.
Franz is here now.
Okay.
Podcast.
My thought is that it could be. I mean, it could be explained that they were trying to demonstrate the triggers involved. That's another one of those tropes they never really quite explained for these types of mass killer type things of attacking teenagers because they're sinning. The sex and alcohol, or whatever. Those were triggers from his childhood, and also they were in the orderlies kind of.
I thought it was pretty clear that he was triggered by them messing with his masks, though.
That too.
That's what I thought, because he seemed indifferent towards them. Raping that girl. Like he was just
like
continued making his mask
before they started touching the mask, and 5 minutes is an exaggeration.
Whereas if he is denied, transferred to another facility, and then either moving back to the cell, that's like great motivation for him to choose that moment to escape.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know why he felt the need to change that. I don't know why he liked his
I'm not sure.
Yeah. That seems to me like a smart studio edit. Like, let's just
not do
86 the rape scene.
Yeah, certainly.
I feel like I've come off negative, but I actually do think it's like a super well made movie, and and I enjoy it. But I just have some like pretty specific problems with it.
Yeah.
But I just think like Rob Zombie, give me like take a true crime case, make a movie about that. I'll watch it. But also if I'm like showing up for Halloween, just give me like dumb campy shit. Yeah. That's all I want. I don't need a backstory.
I don't think that's his.
Face.
Yeah, like make it a little fun. This felt very oppressive compared to like the movie we just watched.
It's very much the opposite of Halloween Resurrection.
Yeah, give me Resurrection. I just want weird, goofy deaths.
Hi.
And like kung fu on Michael Myers.
Hey, Franz,
I do not want that.
I specifically want that.
One other thing, I guess my negative thing about it would be I started just kind of tuning out at the end, which kind of dragged on for me. The chase scene, they weren't really doing anything with it. Maybe this is because the director's cut, but this when he was starting to renovate the house, essentially. Yeah, it was kind of
just kind of
goes.
And I watched another version which was much shorter than that. Like I don't think they even go back into the house. I think there's like a police standoff, and they're all surrounding him. Dr. Loomis goes up, tries to talk Michael Myers down from killing Laurie, and then I think they just essentially just shoot him up, and that's the end. So it's cut off pretty quickly. But that end part where he's doing the board through the ceiling, just it kind of drags on for a while. Yeah.
Franz, have you seen Halloween Rob Zombie version?
I think so. It's been years though, so it's probably here.
More than
also,
likely.
like, note to anyone who gets caught in a serial killer den, like, stab to kill.
Yeah.
And don't stop.
Don't just stab in the shoulder or in the leg or in the arm. Go for the neck.
Face.
Go for the heart. Go for the face.
And take the knife with you.
Yes.
When you decide
stab multiple times.
Never leave a weapon for a killer.
Yeah. Okay, folks, that's all we got for this one. We'll catch you on the next one, whichever one we're going to see next. So, we just watched Season of the Witch, Halloween 3.
Sort
of. We also played Boulder Dash while we were doing it.
I would say that we mostly.
The one thing Megan said before she left was, I don't understand it. So Franz and I explained it to her, and she immediately said, that doesn't clarify anything.
Was it a real explanation?
Yeah. I've seen it.
I thought you guys were kind of joking about...
No.
Huh.
we have watched it and we gave a real explanation for what happened, and we still got.
God, there's a scary Japanese woman crawling out of the mirror in the bathroom. Didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's totally cool. I was just explaining that you and I explained Season of the Witch to Megan, and she still was like, it doesn't clarify anything.
Right.
So,
Well, watching the movie doesn't clarify anything either.
No,
So that's,
no.
Yeah.
So, Dave, I'm assuming you have actually watched it at least once without playing Balderdash.
That probably won't help any, but
What did you? Oh, real quick, what did you think?
I mean, it's terrible. Really, I think giving it the Halloween name was their first pitfall in doing that. They should have just disassociated it from the Halloween franchise and done it as its own thing. That was the first mistake. And then, I don't know, it's real weird. It involves a guy who runs a Halloween mask making company. And he's got bits of Stonehenge put into little chips on the back of the Halloween masks. And when the kids put on the mask and watch his goofy television commercial with the London Bridge is Falling Down Halloween song, it eats their heads and turns them into snakes and crickets.
Oh my god. That really was what's happening.
And laser beams shoot out, and then there's guys that are robots for whatever reason. I don't know if they were just like henchmen robots of the mask maker.
Yeah.
So that's the best explanation that, the biggest fan of Halloween of all time can muster. So that kind of sums it all up. I think the only connection to the first two was the commercial.
They play a commercial for Halloween, like on the TV in the bar
Right
that the
before they turn
doctor
it off.
Yeah, so it's real bad. So that's why we play Balderdash during it. It's kind of a time where, it's still part of the Halloween franchise technically, but we can also take a break from a marathon of watching movies and play Balderdash. So that's why. But I used to actually watch Halloween 3 until about, I don't know, like whenever I moved back to Columbus, so 2005 or so, or 6, that's when I think I introduced Balderdash into the mix.
Mm-hmm.
So
does anybody else have anything they want to weigh in on Season of the Witch? About how awesome or not awesome it was?
Total junk.
That was bad. Keith?
No, you've heard my comments about it. I just, this is one of those movies that I've only seen here, really, that I can recall. Mm-hmm. And every time we were playing Balderdash, and I think I once tried to pay attention to it, and it didn't really. Yeah, I was confused.
The plot makes no sense, really.
Really, it kind of is one of my favorites. It's such catastrophic nonsense. And regard.
It's got its own charm.
Yeah. If they didn't call it Halloween, I probably never would have seen it either.
That's true. I mean, I don't think anybody would have, really.
Right, exactly. And that's why you watch these things, too.
That's right.
A lot of the time, so...
So Keith has one of our questions that we were going to read that we did for Balderdash, and we all gave answers to, and it was pretty funny. It was a person suggestion. We'll end up with one of our wacky answers that Dave usually gives. So,
okay, you also put the bird one in here as well.
The bird one is the wacky one we'll read at the end.
That's sort of rated R, too. I don't know.
Yeah.
Podcast is targeted.
No, we are explicit.
Okay.
I dropped too many F-bombs.
Right, okay. And
so,
SFW.
So if you don't know the Balder, so which one are you going to do first, Keith?
This is going to be Bob Hafley.
So for Balderdash, basically for the person, it gives you a name, and you just have to write down what they're known for, and then hope people guess your answer.
Balderdash is the most entertaining part of Halloween 3. Really. That kind of sums up the review.
As I noted on Thursday, when we were doing the pre-show for this, or pre-taping, or whatever, Dave broke me a couple times today. with his answers. So this was for Bob Hafley, and this is the answer that I actually guessed as well, which was not the right one. It's a California man who used 65,000 toothpicks to build a life-size figure of Jesus Christ.
So that was the actual
No,
answer.
I'm sorry, that was the actual answer.
That was the actual answer.
Oh, wow, I forgot. All right, so I got that right. As did Franz and Dave as well. So anyway, Megan's answer was one of the world's most renowned leading scientists in cancer research. Actually, Ken L. wrote that. Maybe
Yeah, that was
Franz's was 1948's world chess champion from Montpelier, Vermont. It's actually pretty convincing.
Where?
Yeah, nobody guessed it.
Vermont.
Yeah. Megan's was credited with discovering the South American dung beetle. Mine was America's first train conductor. Andy's was the first NFL player to adopt the modern plastic helmet. And one of Dave's, and this one was notable, I think, because Andy made a point of pointing out that if he hadn't gotten greedy with it and he went too far, it was pretty convincing at first. And see if you can guess where he kind of lost some people. set the record for longest distance traveled on a pogo stick. He bounced 191 miles. He was cut short by a patch of quicksand. R.I.P. Bob. So, yeah, I think as Andy noted, I think if he said he was all in before the quicksand.
And I knew that in my mind too, but I was like, this is balderdash. I can't,
yeah.
I'm already way behind. I'm not going for a win here.
All right, yeah. No, the quicksand kind of takes you out of it, and then R.I.P. Bob.
That was the nail in the coffin there.
So now we're going to have the wackiest one of the night. The one that broke Megan.
Yeah.
Like, she couldn't even read it. She just was like in tears. And then she cursed Dave to die.
Yeah.
And then also Franz, I think. Yeah.
So as you're going around for the game, if you don't know how it's played, one person has to read all the clues or all the answers people submit to let everyone else try to guess them. I'm going to try to read this without laughing. I might be able to do it now since I'm prepared. So the category is movies, and it was the movie was called Birds Do It. And so I'm already.
So basically, we have to write the plot of the movie.
No, I'm going to do it. I'm fine. All right. It's a 1992 documentary about the mating habits of the cedar waxwing. It's an hour and a half of birds just doing it. Fucking in the nest, in the chimney, on the light post. This one bird did a move called the kitty. Called the kitty shifter. It was fucking dope. The end.
Way to evoke the cedar waxwing. That's a pretty obscure bird.
Really
right. I was trying to draw people in at the beginning.
Exactly.
Boom.
Just like with the last
I'm
round.
for that one. Nope.
It totally convinced everyone, and then walked them back.
That's actually one of the funny things about it. If you think about it, is Dave is just so skilled that he's bored with it, and he shows you he could do it if he wanted to. He pulls you in for a second, and then just no.
We're gonna go wacky.
What is a cedar waxwing, by the way?
It's like a little gray bird with kind of a crest on its head.
It's
an actual bird.
That's
It is an
good.
actual bird.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, that was Season of the Witch. Hi, Keith.
Hi, Marianne.
This is a wrap-up for our Halloween episodes, and I want to talk to you about one of the statements you made after the Rob Zombies Halloween. Do you remember the statement?
I think you reminded me of it before.
Yes. I play a lot of D&D. I'm a big gamer, and Keith is also. And we kind of like to classify different characters as we run across them in their alignments. So we have good, which is lawful good, chaotic good, and neutral good. Then you have neutral, chaotic neutral, lawful neutral, true neutral. Then there's also evil, chaotic evil, lawful evil, neutral evil. So, Keith, do you remember who you said? Mike Myers from Halloween, the killer, was.
At the time, well, first of all, let's back up a bit and just say I like to think about the psychology of the things to begin with, just in general anyway. And I find it fascinating that there's a classification system for a game to try to encourage people to embody these psychological traits, which we have a friend who's a dungeon master, John, who admits that it's a very rigid classification system, so it's hard to pigeonhole these things. But
yes.
What I thought at the time was that maybe Mike Myers was true neutral.
Wrong. I disagree. Right. 100%.
100%?
Yes. He is nowhere near true neutral.
We have talked about it since then. Mm-hmm. And I did come around to your way of thinking, but do you understand at least why I might have thought that?
Why don't you tell me why you think that?
Okay. Well, he seems to be killing someone indiscriminately.
Yes.
In the sense that it's not... depending upon the people's perspectives around him, it may look like he's doing something good or bad, depending, if he's attacking someone who has been doing, bad things throughout the entire movie. So, part of the explanation. I mean, first of all, what I should say is that, to me, what true neutral means is that they usually classify a mindless monster or a pattern of weather, like a tornado, or...
It's fine, just... She meows a lot.
Yes. Or maybe a farmer who's isolated and who doesn't really care about the politics of what are going on around him. All he cares about is...
Druids are true neutral in classic D&D.
Right.
Yes.
They care about the nature, right, of what's going on in the balance.
Keeping the balance at all times.
And so if okay, so the way that I was thinking about it at the time was I was viewing Mike Myers as like a pattern of weather that comes into an environment and just starts messing things up, like a tornado.
Right. And
it's not like he is... I think that in that state, and especially with the Rob Zombie version, they showed that he had a sort of dissociative state that he entered. Mm-hmm.
Yes, when he wore his mask, he was in a different state. When he didn't wear his mask, especially when he was a kid, he was trying to hide the bad things that he did for his mom. But as soon as his mom died, all sense of that was gone. So that's why he wore the mask all the time. He always wore a mask because he was a good thing that he had is gone now. Mm-hmm. So therefore, why do I even need to pretend? So he can be the bad guy all the time.
Yeah. So I think the deciding factor there, or if you give your explanation then, because I think you touched on the key to it just then.
So he has forethought. So therefore, and he is choosing to do these things. He is not mindlessly doing these things. He is... Yes, Gio, I hear you. Yes. He is choosing to do these things. Therefore, he is choosing to meow. He is choosing to kill the people that he does indiscriminately. He chooses to kill Danny Trejo's character, the one guy that has been nice to him in all the years that he's been in that asylum that he was in.
Well, I think what might help is if you maybe back up a little bit and explain what chaotic evil means.
Chaotic evil is I will do bad things at my whim. There is nothing that can stop me. I'm not held by any laws. I am not held by any moral code. Mm-hmm. So, good or bad, if you're in my way, I'm going to kill you.
Right.
So he wants to go see his sister. And so he goes and just pretty much kills everything in its way.
Yeah. So the key difference there is that there is an evil intent that he's expressing chaotically, as opposed to just neutrally doing whatever.
A hurricane
Yeah.
has
no malice, but he has malice.
A hurricane is true neutral or chaotic neutral. It doesn't care what it hits. It doesn't know that it's hitting anything. Animals, monsters, wolves, stuff like that. Those are in the neutral realm. Keith, did you want to talk about It's All Been Tracked?
Oh, not really, but I guess I have to.
Yes.
Well, I mean, also out of my own self-interest, because I'm in that a lot.
Yes, you are.
Whenever she even just read the copy here. No, I don't know. Well, anyway.
Ad-lib it.
I will try to do that, even though I'm very bad at doing that. So Jimmy, Stephen Woosley, and often me are rewatching all of Star Trek from the beginning, and recording an episode-by-episode wrap-up of those things.
The original series,
Yes,
right?
the original. We're starting with the original series. So I don't know if this makes it any different than anything anyone else has already done, but what I found fascinating is that we're just going to, everything, just from, in chronological order. The original series, the cartoon.
Animated series,
the animated series, the movies as they come up, etc. I'm sure everyone knows more about, like, The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine and so forth. So. Interesting to see if he decides to try to weave those together, like when they're actually happening chronologically as they when they're overlapping, but who knows. But yes. And also a rotating cast of other guests that stop in.
Colleen,
yes,
Jessica,
for example. Yes.
Amanda.
Right.
Rotating group of ladies that come in and out. I have done one. I have did the Trouble with Tribbles.
Yes, that's true. So right now we're actually watching and recording toward the end of season 2, or like maybe
How many
3
seasons are there?
3 seasons of the original series, and we got maybe 3 or 4 episodes left in season 2.
You're getting there.
Yep. One of my favorites is coming up soon, actually.
What's your favorite?
Well, all right, it's not like a favorite episode, but it is something that was notable to me because of like the tie into the Cable Guy, which I thought was funny.
Oh, okay.
Anyway. Right.
So what I want to talk to you about is Quarterly Book Club. It's quarterly. We read the book. We pick a... Last year we picked a theme, so it was all horror or thrillers last year.
I was really hoping you'd work the word club in there too somehow. It's quarterly. You read a book.
And it's a club.
Yes.
Last year I read Butterfly Garden, and I was in the Quarterly Book Club. You can find that on YouTube. But this quarter we are doing The Lost City of the Monkey God, A True Story by Douglas Preston. I am actually have the book. I am going to read it, but I'm reading along with the folks that are going to be actually reviewing it on YouTube. So it should be really interesting. What you can do is you can participate in the discussion by going to thequarterlybookclub.com, connect on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook with the hashtag QBC. That's quarterly Q B book C Club.
That makes sense.
It's all been done anyway, so go to IABD Presents and please support our programming at Patreon/IABD.
Was it patreon.com/IABD?
Shit. Patreon.com/IABD. I'm totally keeping that in.
Speaking of which, did I actually say It's All Been Tracked before? I didn't see the name of the
I
actual...
don't remember.
Sigh.
Do you want to say it now, and then I can add it in?
Just in case. It's all been Trek before. Yeah.
You want to say it again?
Yes, Marianne, I would like to tell you about It's All Been Trek before.
Thanks, Keith.